Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to KBAC's 2023 Candidate Forum. I'm Gwen Allen Karsten. I am the Executive Director for KBAC, Kent Black Action Commission. We've been around since 2011, and we hope that we've been doing great service when it comes to keeping our community and residents informed and helping with services that we can provide. Thank you so much for your time here, for those who are physically here, and we welcome those who will tune in, whether it's now or later on today. First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Kent for the candidates coming to make sure that our residents and our communities are represented well. We also would like to thank our sponsors, again, the City of Kent, Seattle Foundation, King County, CIRCC, and many other folks who have contributed to our production today. The production is being managed and done by our supporter and KBAC member, Mr. Davies Churwa of Channel ATV. Also joining us today is his wife, Miss Grace Churwa of GGY Collections, and we're happy about that. Um, I can tell you that story later. But anyway, we want to welcome everyone. Please feel free to bring your questions. Feel free to ask your questions. And feel free to do what you want to do to make this a huge event. Now, whether you realize it or not, when Davies hits that button, this goes around the world. So I would admonish you to put on your good face, smile good, and all that good stuff. So people way over in Timbuktu can recognize who you are. So thank you again for being here, taking the time out, and especially thank you to our candidates who are here with us today. Our moderator for today is Mr. Charles Karsten, and yes, he is my husband, hallelujah. And he will be doing a fabulous job. So I'm going to get out of the way so we can get started. And thank you once again for your presence here and your presence on our social media. Thank you very much.
Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Kent Black Action Commission live stream candidate forum 2023. My name is Charles W. Karsten. I am the operations manager and senior advisor to the executive director, Gwen Allen Karsten. KBAC has been, since the beginning of 2011, providing the local community with information and a voice to share the concerns with our elected officials. I'm also today's moderator for the event. On behalf of KBAC, we thank you for your time, your participation, and for tuning in to this forum for those who are out there in one of the social media places. Excuse me. We also ask for your patience during this forum. A goal for this forum is to provide you, the voter, access to the candidates vying for your vote to become your elected representative for Kent City Council and Kent School Board. Now I'd like to make a statement about voting rights. It's important for citizens to realize that to influence legislative policies at the federal and state levels, you must begin at the local level. The local level is where your vote can be most powerful. The local level is where your state representatives come from. And then they move on to the federal level, either through election or by appointment. My point is, use your vote. Use your vote to build your community. Voting rights are under assault in many states across the country right now. Your vote is your voice. Use your vote and protect. Thank you. Also, at this point, let me introduce tell you about the candidates that we have today. Today, we have 6 candidates competing for seats on the Kent City Council and 3 candidates for positions on the Kent City School District, number 415. The Kent City Council candidates are position 1, Marley Larmer. She's the incumbent, but she's not here today due to some other issues. And we have the challenger, Jesse Ramsey. And for position 3, we have Mr. John Boyd and Ms. Kelly Wiggins Crawford. And we will start with this group with questions. And we'll just move on to the questions for the Kent City Council members. Actually, it's time for a 90-second introduction from the candidates. So we will start at the end, but the only lady is here.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wiggins Crawford. I was raised in Kent. I'm running for Kent City Council position 3. I'm a mom, wife. I work as a paralegal for an attorney in Seattle. And I decided to run last year after living on the river for the last 20 years and seeing the homeless come in and spending my summers calling, trying to get some sort of resolve, and that resolve didn't ever seem to come. So rather than live out the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different result, I decided that the different result was me running. Being a lifelong Kent resident, I deeply love this community and this city, and I want to have a voice at the table for everybody. I think we need to have some more just normal people at the table because we live day to day the policies that are going to affect us personally. Thank you.
Next up would be Mr. John Boyd.
First of all, I would like to send out my prayers to the people in Ukraine and Israel. They're going through a terrible thing right now, a war that shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't happen anywhere to nobody, no how, no way. I am a public safety kind of guy. Last year, I was elected to office with the 33rd LD District as a precinct committee officer. I am a veteran, United States Navy. I've also, as of today, chose to run for office. And let me tell you a little story about me. Back in 2001, we had an event that happened that the government reached out and asked for people to come to the defense of our country. Like I said, I'm a public safety kind of guy. And I raised my hand and I took the oath and I went to work for the Homeland Security as a TSA agent. I also believe a lot could be done with the experience that I have. I just retired 2 years ago from Boeing with 37 years. So then again, once I said, I'm a public safety kind of guy. I made sure that those airplanes that you guys flew on from here to there was safe. I made sure you got from point A to point B. And like I said, I'm here and thank you for having me. And thank you for KBAC for hosting this forum. And thank you guys for showing up. Thank you very much.
And now Mr. Jesse Ramsey.
Hi, Jesse Ramsey. I'm running for position 1 in Kent City Council. I myself too want to send my thoughts and prayers to the people in Iraq and the people in Israel, and pray for them for what they're going through. I also want to mention Marley, and that I do wish her health and strength. That said, I'm not from Kent. I actually was born in Los Angeles. I was born and raised. Joined the military in 1999. Got out in 2006. I was a combat medic. I actually moved to Washington the first time I was in Washington, I was in JBLM 2003. I moved back to Washington in 2017. Moved to Graham. Moved to Kent in 2018. Been here ever since. I'm running because the Kent that I moved here to is not the Kent that I'm living in now. There were a whole lot of changes, a lot that happened during COVID and post-COVID that shouldn't have happened. And like Kelly said, it just seems like they're running on a hamster wheel and not making much progress. And because, again, I'm a security guard, I have a degree in IT. And in IT, you learn how to think outside of the box to solve certain problems. And I'm bringing that. I'm bringing to the city council that outside of the box thinking so we can get off of this hamster wheel and we can actually start making progress and getting to where we need to be. We can, it's a thing that we're gonna have to do together. I depend on you just like you're gonna depend on me. But if we do this together, we can bring this city to where it needs to be and what I know we can achieve as a community. Thank you.
Okay, now we will move to the questions. And the first question is involves community engagement. And I think I've heard some of the answers or potential answers to this question here during the 90-second in brief. What motivated you to become active in Kent City government? And that's open to Ms. Crawford.
So as I said earlier, I lived on the Green River for about 22 years. I owned a condo, and there's a walking trail behind the condo. And for the first 12 years or so, everything was fine. We would have the occasional homeless person on the river. Wasn't causing any harm. In about 2015, 2016, the homeless started moving in more readily. And it got to the point where they were digging into the berm, creating a safety issue for the people that live along the river. And for every summer thereafter, I would start calling and asking for help from the city, from the police, whoever I could think of. And it turned into a cycle of they would move the homeless from the river to downtown, then from downtown back to the city or back to the river. And it just was this back and forth, and no problem seemed to get resolved. And last year I started attending the council meetings. I've been attending them for about the last year. And I wanted to see kind of what the city was doing to work on that problem. And I feel like we need to have a change in perspective in how to get people to services, get them reintegrated into society. Thank you.
Okay, same question to Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, so what I didn't mention earlier in my intro was that I'm also a substance abuse counselor, and I graduated from Highline College with a degree in human services. So I know how, or I got a very good understanding how to work with people. This has been a lifelong passion of mine, dealing with people. And I want to carry it through to the city council. To not only do I have the experience of helping people here in the city of Kent, like I said, with my military, I had an experience of helping people throughout our nations, throughout the United States. This is a job that needs to be done. This is a job that I know I could do. I've been doing it for most of my life. Thank you.
Same question to Mr. Ramsey.
So what got me interested in this is the fact that, again, I came here in 2018 and it was a different experience. Like I didn't really have to worry about seeing fentanyl ODs or anything, or stolen cars in the apartment where I live. But when you deal with that kind of thing, I recently had to deal with both. I mean, seeing somebody ODing on fentanyl is the scariest thing because they look like they're dead. Like I had to call 911, and it was a whole thing. And again, I've called in more stolen cars than I even cared to. And I said, this can't continue. When we can't continue, won't. So I decided, after hearing all the placations and things like that and all the lip service, I decided, okay, well, I think it's my turn. I think I can bring something to the city council that nobody's really thinking about. And I think if we can push the city council in a direction where they can see the logic of certain things, then we can only improve the city and the city's politics that way. But it's going to take that outside of the box thinking. It's going to take getting off that hamster wheel, and it's going to take getting them to see that certain things are happening in order to get them to move in the direction they need to move. So that's what I think I'm bringing. That's what got me interested in doing this, and that's what made me run.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question. What do you believe are the top 3 priorities for the city of Kent over the next 2 years? And how would you plan to address them if elected? We'll start with Mr. Boyd.
Okay, the top 3 priorities are, for one, like I said in my previous intro, is public safety. Everybody deserves to be safe in your city. You need to be safe as you travel to and from. The second on my list would be housing. We live in the United States. I mean, the richest country in the world. There should be nobody sleeping out on the street. No how, no way. And third, probably has a lot to do with housing, would be this drug addiction thing. I mean, people are out there dying every day. This fentanyl is killing them. You know, everybody needs to wake up and you need to look around and see what's going on. I see it. I want to do something about it, but I can't do anything without your help. I could talk about it till I turn blue in the face, but without your help and getting me on the city council, that's all I'll be able to do is talk about it. I want to do something about it. Thank you.
Same question.
So I've been campaigning since about April or May. And the top 3 things that I hear most often, as John stated, is the homelessness, affordable housing, and public safety. I've had people within our community tell me that they don't feel safe coming down to the post office. That's not acceptable. We need to look at how we're working as a community so that we can foster that safety. I know that the police are doing the best that they can. They are understaffed, or they're staffed to budget. However, there's some other resources that I think that we can look to try and foster that safety. Drug addiction, homelessness, it's an epidemic in our society. It's not just our community, it's all the communities around us. Affordable housing, there's several options. And the state legislature passed some legislation this last session trying to incorporate some plans to make more affordable housing. So I think that a lot of those things are interconnected, that if people are safe and they have good affordable housing, they're less likely to use drugs, and they're obviously not going to be homeless. So thank you.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Ramsey, your top priorities.
Okay, for me, this one's easy. One, public safety. I think we all agree on that one. But the other 2 for me are actually taxes and education. Here's why. Because we have a pretty nice base of business here, but if they're being taxed to death, they can't prosper, and they can't, employment is going to stagnate at that point. So if we keep taxes where they are, or even bring them down and have everybody, it's been proven that the lowering taxes actually helps people pay more. Studies say that. So again, let's not go all in with the taxing thing. There are ways to fund different things without asking the people to foot a bigger bill. You're already paying enough in local taxes. You're already paying enough in property taxes. So let's put a cap on that. Education. The last I checked, the Kent's public schools, they're running about a 34% or so, a 34% proficiency rate. That's what I want to say. So let's bring that up. I don't know what's going on with these schools. I'm going around to different schools and they all say the same thing. The kids aren't attending. The kids aren't attending. And because the kids aren't attending, we have things like what happened yesterday when I talked to a lady from Walgreens, and she said that a group of teenagers robbed the Safeway that was across the street. That shouldn't be. Our kids should be getting an education. So again, public safety, education, taxes, and what I believe when we bring all that together, then we can address homelessness and everything else. But we're going to need the funding to do that, and that's how we're going to get that done.
Okay. Okay. The last question for this group up here is about housing and homelessness. So, Mr. Ramsey, since you just mentioned that, let me read the question here. Kent is facing challenges related to homelessness. There are many stakeholders throughout the region working on these issues. As a candidate, what solution do you propose to address this issue?
So, not quite sure how Washington does the whole zoning thing, but I know in California we used to zone certain districts for certain things. So you have like district zone for apartments, district zone for single family residences and things like that. So why can't we take a specific area and zone it for low income and public housing? I mean, we can literally do that. We can set aside some of our city budget for these projects, for building these things, but we need to find the money to do it. And if we have to make some cuts, then that's what we need to do. Again, I believe that taxes should be the last option that we look at. But again, we can have these projects and we can build these things so that we can put our low income people up. It just takes that thinking out of the box to find the money to do that. But I do know we can do that.
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, Kent is facing challenges related to homelessness. There are many stakeholders throughout the region working on these issues. As a candidate, what solution do you propose to address this issue?
Okay, first of all, I don't know if anybody knows about this, but the growing population for the homeless is, whether you know it or not, is people 65 years and older, and 65 years older and female. These are the stats. These will be our next homeless. Right now, we got close to probably 1,100 people out here in the streets of Kent that sleeps in the car, on the streets, in the parks, in the byways. We could do something about this. Amazon, just a couple of years ago, took some apartment buildings over on 272nd, right around the corner from my house, 136 units, and they're turning them into affordable housing, and I give them kudos for that. We shouldn't have this situation. Atlanta has twice as many people as we do, but do you know Atlanta has the lowest homeless rate going? Why can't it be like that? We only have 136,000 people. Atlanta has 498,000 people. And you know why their homeless population is so low? It's because they're not being priced out of their homes. They're not being priced out of their apartments. The rents are cheaper than Kent. The rates are cheaper than Seattle. And that's why they have a lesser homeless population. I think that the state of Washington, I think Seattle, I think Kent should wake up and we should look and see what Atlanta's doing. We need to bring this homelessness to a halt. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ms. Wiggins Crawford.
So in regards to the homeless, I've talked to quite a few community leaders that work directly with the homeless. I think that that's where our solutions probably need to come from, or at least some of our answers is dealing with the people that, or communicating with the people that deal directly with the homeless. They're going to have a better idea than probably any one of us. Studies are proving that rehousing people and rehousing them quickly helps get them on the right path, because once they're in a home stable, they can get the other services that they need, the mental health, the drug support, the services that are critical to reintegrating into society. And as John said, there's several motels that have been taken over by county, and honestly, I think they're viable options to look at rehoming our homeless population, because then they're in a centralized location where the services can come to them, and it makes it easier to reintegrate them. And I realize that there's not everybody wants to be reintegrated, but at least giving people support, because these are human beings. This is somebody's daughter. This is somebody's son. This is somebody's brother, sister, mom, and they deserve to be treated as humans.
Thank you all. That's all the questions I have from the desk, but I believe Mr. Clarence Gunn may have one or two, if we have time for those. No. From the podium, please.
I was
It's
going
not
to hand it
official
to
unless we
him.
get there.
Good evening. My name's Clarence Gunn. I'm with the Coalition of Immigrants, Refugees, Communities of Color, and a number of other organizations. But we're here today to support Kent Black Action Commission and some of the work that they're doing out here in the community, advocating for the community. And so we're just glad to be their partners today. My job is just I've collected a couple questions. Most people have given me some, but we only have time for two. So I got to go with the ones that we talked about a little bit, but maybe a little bit more clarity. The first one is about homelessness. Is the camping ordinance working without a shelter in the city of Kent, and why or why not? And Mr. Carson, I'll let you figure out who starts.
We'll start, Mr. Ramsey, right here.
So the ordinance, was just one piece of the puzzle, but like you say, the ordinance, what good is having the ordinance if you don't have anywhere for them to go or anywhere for them to live? So again, there should have been something in place when the ordinance was passed so that they're not just going from one place to another place to another place. No, they needed a dedicated place where they can be, and they can rehab and do the things that they need to do to reintegrate into society should they choose to do that. So yeah, the ordinance was okay, but I think the ball was dropped where they didn't have anywhere for them to go. And right now we should focus some efforts and some budget monies onto setting up something for them so that if other places plan on passing similar ordinances, that they do have somewhere to go. So yeah, it's a two-part thing. I think they dropped the ball on one.
Okay, I agree with Mr. Ramsey here. The camping ordinance is not really working that well. Look at Green River. I mean, we sending them from one place and they're going down there. I mean, and they're not even being addressed down there. We need to have more affordable housing for these individuals who are out there. We can't just say, hey, you can't sleep here or stay here, because all they're going to do is go over to the next city, and then the next city, they come over to here. So it's just like a vicious cycle. You chase them away from one spot to go to the next. The ordinance needs to be a little bit more, I want to say the word impactful, but it should be more meaningful. We should have a place for them to go to, not just saying, hey, you can't stay here. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We need a better solution. And I know the city of Kent, hopefully the state of Washington, can come up with this idea. Bruce Harrell over in Seattle, he's working on a plan that I like a whole lot, and people need to read about what he's doing with Seattle. He's making some improvements, And I think we should follow suit because he has a bigger problem than we do. Thank you.
So I'm gonna step back. The city ordinance that people are referring to bans camping on sidewalks, public property, parks, protected areas. And the idea behind it was to not necessarily criminalize, but criminalize being in these spaces. There's a court ruling that you cannot criminalize somebody for being indigent, in homeless. And so it was kind of a workaround for that ruling. With that said, there's no shelter here in Kent, and and the area is lacking homeless resources for men specifically. And so what's happening is, it's like my experience living on the river. Somebody is homeless here, so they have an open bed in Seattle, so they bus them to Seattle. Well, then they eventually migrate here, so it's putting that problem off on somebody else. Like when I lived on the river, they'd move in, the homeless would move into the city center, and then the city center they'd move back to the river, and it was this back and forth. It's the same process, just now we're busing them.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more public
Okay.
question?
All right, great. Because there were a lot of good questions, and I apologize that I couldn't ask them all, and I don't know what we're going to do with the spares.
We'll get to that.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. Okay. The second question that I kind of going through the list is Marysville has passed a repeat offender ordinance for 3 misdemeanors mandating 30 days in jail. Should Kent also have a repeat offender ordinance? And probably go in reverse order, John or Charles. I'm sorry, you're in charge.
So I'm a little leery of any law that is a repeat offender law, mostly because people of color typically are arrested more often. So now you have somebody that's a 3 times repeat offender, and they're in the system now, and it just sets up the system to fail people that probably are good people. They're just experiencing wrong place, wrong time, the myriad of things that happen. And so sending somebody to jail for 30 days because they have 3 misdemeanors, a misdemeanor can be something as minor as you're shoplifting food. So you want to criminalize somebody for 30 days for shoplifting food? That just is incredibly unfair, and I would not support criminalizing it or setting people up for a 30-day jail run for a small misdemeanor.
Two words. That's crazy, really. It's crazy. Getting like California, 3 strikes, right? That's next, right? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Where does it stop? You know, that's crazy. We need to, like I said, have a place for people to go. Do you know it costs more to incarcerate a person than to get them treatment? And the person being most incarcerated are the BIPOC people of color. We're being locked up like every day, all day. We need to have a place for the people to go. That 30 day, that thing that Marysville is doing is just ridiculous. You know, we should never ever get like them. You know, and with me on the council, we won't. Believe you. Thank you.
Mr. Ramsey.
Well, dear Marysville, I hope when you pass that ordinance, you actually put in place a treatment or an alternative program for them to actually deter them from even doing that to begin with. Otherwise, your jails are going to be overcrowded, just like California's figuring out right now. So no, there's no way I would support something like that. What we need is, again, he hit on it, a treatment program. We need alternative activities to for people to do. A lot of the crimes, a lot of misdemeanors and things like that are and from what I understand in Kent, they're being committed by young people, young BIPOC. And if we had something that they could do other than turn to that, if we had some kind of activity that they can do to better themselves, then that's the ticket, not criminalizing them, not locking them up for 30 days, and not overcrowding our jails with people who don't even need to be there. So again, I wouldn't, no, not after what I saw in California. I mean,
We have time for one more, I've been told.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't bring but two up here.
First and foremost, thanks to KBAC for just putting this together really quickly. Can we give it up for them? My name is Deontay Damper, and I work for an organization called Vocal Washington, where we advocate for community folks that have been impacted. When we talk about, sometimes we're afraid to have tough questions, and we talk about public safety here, but when we can, real South King County residents remember the Green River Killer and how it impacted Black and Brown community members that may or may have not been involved in the areas of sex work. The question is to the council, what policies will you put in place to make sure that community members that are impacted either through sex work actually have their areas of public safety? Don't act like it doesn't exist. We have to stop ignoring that. Sorry, thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like that one first?
Gee, thanks. That you mentioned the Green River Killer. And weirdly enough, one of my really good friends was a sex worker during that time. And she was terrified for her life, and she lost friends. She lost 2. And to be honest, I haven't thought about what I would do for their safety. They're marginalized and they often fall through the cracks. My friend she's a convicted felon because she upgraded and became a madam. But it's definitely something that we need to consider and look at, because their line of work is incredibly dangerous. They can be killed by the next John. And knowing from my friend the things that she endured, it's heartbreaking, and nobody should be put through it. If there wasn't a supply or a demand for it, there wouldn't be a supply for it. And it's the oldest profession in the world. We're not ever going to end it. So you bring up a good point that we need to look at how we would protect those people in our community, because they do exist, and you're right.
That was a great question, Deontay. Great question. I think we need to send out a special group of mental health professionals to talk to these individuals, because more than likely these people are out here sex trafficking, because more than likely, like I said, it has to do probably with drugs. And through a lot of intake programs, we should discuss that. We should ask them, what are they doing to provide the funds for their habits? And what do they have to do to get their money for their habits? And with that being said, we should create safe places for them, not have them marginalized like a lot of other people and a lot of other things we do in life. We need to get help for them. We need to stop treating them like others. because they're not. They just have a different type of lifestyle than we do. But they're still people, and we need to treat them like people. And it can be done. And I'm looking forward to doing it. Thank you.
Mr. Ramsey.
Oh, so what I'm about to say is probably not going to endear me to certain circles that I run in, but this is what I'm going to say. What I believe. When I ran for state and I had to set up my my campaign account and everything, you need a business license to do it. So I paid $95 and got a business license. And I'm wondering this: when it comes to sex workers and their safety out on the street, can we please? And again, it's not going to give me certain circles, but now I don't care. Can we please make this legal to where if we can get them, have them get a business license and they can run this at home as an at-home kind of business? Because I get it. A lot of it has to do with drugs and a lot of it has to do with trafficking and things like that and dependency. Okay, so if we can get them to break that dependency by operating as a business, then they don't have to be out on the street. They can make their money, they can pay their taxes and things like that, and not have to worry about that level of danger. And then they can use that to, if they need to get help, then they can get help. If they need to take whatever they earn and go and parlay it into a different thing like they want to do, they can do that. But as long as we keep criminalizing this, then they're still going to be in that danger. So let's have it so where they could do it legally and safely.
Amazing.
All righty. I believe that is all the time we have for this first group of candidates. So I would like to thank each of you for being here and providing us with the answers. Oh, well, I was going to get to that, but I wanted to say thank you to all of the candidates here. And we'll start with the closing statement, if you like.
Again, I'm Kelly Wiggins Crawford, and I'm running for City Council position 3. And as I have stated earlier, I'm a lifelong Kent resident. I've seen Kent grow and change and become more diverse. And I think as a community, we need to do better at in embracing that diversity, finding ways to include all of our communities in the decisions that are being made, because at the city council level, we're making decisions that impact everyone. And so everyone really should have a voice. And so I'm hoping that you use your vote because you understand that I'm going to be your voice. I really do want to represent everybody in Kent. I don't care what your viewpoint is. I want to hear it because I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to learn and become a better representative for you. So if you see me out, please come talk to me. And finally, I want to thank KBAC for appreciate the opportunity to discuss the things that are important to your community, which is our community. So I really do appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yes, I also too like to say thank you to KBAC for putting on this forum. I mean, great questions, great answers. And I also like to mention too that I was born here in the United States of America. I was raised in Los Angeles, California, and I've been here, me and my wife and my 2 sons, for the past 37 years. And I love Kent. Like I talked about earlier in my opening, I am a public safety kind of guy. Like I said, I was a guy, like I said, who made sure that when you left Seattle, that you got on a plane, a Boeing plane, that you knew you was getting on one of the safest vessels built by man. I want to make sure that you do that too when you leave your house, when you hop in your car, your mode of transportation, your vessel. I want to make sure that you get to where you're going from point A to point B, from job to school or to just hanging out. I also made sure that when you was on that Boeing 737, that while in flight, you had the best entertainment you could possibly have or afford. Same here. I want to make sure you get to the showware or the Maggie's safely and have the best entertainment that you could possibly have. And then again, with the 737, I made sure that we left, me and my team, I was QA quality lead inspector. We made sure that no stone was left unturned. We made sure that that aircraft landed safely and made it possible for you to go to your next destination connection. Again, I want to make sure that when you leave your job or leave your home and head for your next destination, that it also be safe. I'm a public safety type of guy, and I'm going to protect your safety no matter what. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramsey, panel statements.
Okay, so in closing, I just want to again thank KBAC. I haven't heard of them before this, but now I see they're doing phenomenal things, and I'm growing. My appreciation for them is growing by the second. We have great candidates here, and it's an honor to be running with them for city council. I think we all have the desire to make the city great. Myself, again, public safety guy. I'm the head of security at Marriott, and I'm an IT guy. So I don't have a highfalutin degree. It's just an associate in IT. But I have the desire to help people, and I want to see everybody here thrive. I don't care what race, nationality, or creed you are. Everybody deserves a shot at prosperity. And as you can see from the answers to my question, I'm kind of an outside of the box kind of thinker. So I want to bring that to the city council so that we can start getting these things rolling. And like I said in my opening, I depend on you and you depend on me when I get there. But together we can make this city great. We can make this city amazing. We can make the city a destination for people to come, set up shop, and live the dream like everybody knows everybody wants to live. So on November 7th, I hope I earned enough of your confidence for you to give me a vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And now we're going to move on to the next group of candidates. And again, I want to thank all of you for participation. I do appreciate it.